Welcome back, ladies and gents, boys and girls. We're back playing some 6 Days. Obviously, 1 second in, we're already into our little firefight. Again, just like our last video, we're going to be going over things I did well and things I did poorly. Pretty much trying to use this game as best we can to mimic real life. Obviously, it's a video game, so it's not going to be exactly like real life, but we're going to try it anyways and hope for the best. So as you can tell, we already got a sniper call. Hey, snipers in the area, whatever. I've assessed the area as much as I can. I'm assuming that the sniper is going to be on this green roofed building. In a second here, I'm going to set up my security element to hopefully watch over that building as best they can, so that when I am moving, if they can support me, they will. So there, I set them up in their little security position. I'm going to continue on, trying to scan the area, look for more targets, trying to gain just a foothold into whatever building I can so that we can continue clearing the rest of this town. Alright, here, there's already an issue because I can see that my assist is just hanging out on the top of this truck like a goof, which, sheet metal can't stop bullets, so that's probably not the best place to be in. So I'm just adjusting them so that they can still maintain security over that building, but be in a more covered and concealed position. Now I'm here, I'm just trying not to move too quick, trying to scan my environment, because if you ever heard of the saying, you can only move as fast as you can accurately engage, which does reign true. If you're just sprinting from one area to another, you're most likely going to miss stuff, like we talked about in our last video. If you're just that dog looking for a squirrel, you're not going to do as well because you're just rushing. And we don't want to rush here, we want to do things that make sense to hopefully stay alive and progress through the mission. So now I'm here, I want to pie off this little area. Alright, there's an enemy just hanging out in the open. I'm assuming that there's enemies most likely in this building. Oh, I see an enemy right there. Eliminate him. I'm going to try and just not go too quick. Again, some more recon by fire, just seeing if there's enemy in there. Saw some smoke kick up from over there. Just trying to suppress into the windows and hopefully eliminate any targets I can. I would say so far we're doing pretty well. I have eliminated that sniper, but I'm leaving my security element over there so that they can just stay out of the way because there's really no need for them to come up. Over here, I saw those little rounds kick up next to that wall to my left, so I know that there's an enemy over here. This enemy was a lot closer than I was expecting, which is a boo-boo on my part. I really should have had my weapon up if I was expecting an enemy there. Luckily, I was faster to draw than he was. In reality, that probably would have gone a lot differently. I probably would have gotten shot because I didn't have my weapon up. So now I'm here, I'm just doing some more recon by fire because I'm like, hey, this is our objective. We know that there's most likely enemy on the objective. And yeah, I'm just taking my time, trying to just do things a lot more patiently because I've already assessed like, hey, there's enemy that's going to come out of that way. I'm going to sit here and hopefully let them come to me and not just overexpose myself and constantly look for targets for the sake of looking for targets. In a minute here, you're going to see me call up my security element for the reason being that since I have established there's enemy on this objective, I want to try and just have my security element be here. 1, isolate down the alleyway, and 2, isolate the objective as much as possible so that any enemy doesn't flood out and try and overtake me from when I try and gain a foothold into another building. So I would say so far we've done everything pretty well. You know, with the exception of that one point of failure where I didn't have my weapon up, everything has been a success so far. Again, I'm just assuming that there's more enemy coming from here. I'm rescanning my environment, trying to repie off the door, trying to look towards that little building to see, hey, what is in there? Now here, it's questionable. You could say like the grenade was warranted, the grenade was not warranted. I'd say the grenade was probably less warranted. There was really no reason for me to throw it. As I've come to the conclusion that there's really no more enemy in that building, so there really wouldn't be a point in me throwing that grenade. But I threw it anyways just because I was getting that gut feeling of like, hey, they might still be in there. Okay, cool, I've seen these enemies right here in front of me just jump out of that window. First thing I do is shut off my light because I'm in a dark room. Dark room, flashlight, you're just going to illuminate yourself as a target and it's not going to be a good day for you. If you're ever inside, obviously use your flashlight, but the minute you start taking contact from outside of the building, they're going to have the advantage because they can look through and see you with the flashlight on. Here, tried to do a little low ready fire. Didn't really work out that well for me or my ready. We both kind of got hit in the process, so I'm just trying to readjust from the situation.
Reloading! I'm back online.
Here I've established there's more enemies on top of the roof. So in a minute here I'm going to toss a grenade because they're not coming back towards me. So I want to at least kind of come to them or at least scare them off of the roof using a grenade. Now before we even came into this building, I would say a point of failure for me is when I called up my security element. They were in a really good position just looking and observing the objective and that alleyway because it would have also isolated the back of this building that I'm shooting at. So if any enemies were to come out and try and flank us, my security element would have picked them up almost immediately. That's a learning lesson you can take away from this, is if you have your guys in a really good position, unless there's a direct reason for you to move them, don't move them. Because there really was no reason for me to move them, and I kind of played myself. So now we're here, and after assessing the situation, I've come to the conclusion that, hey, it's probably pretty safe to take this little building that we've been shooting at for the past few minutes. Doesn't seem like any more activity is going to happen on it. We've already eliminated a lot of the enemy, and I felt pretty safe to move across the street and take it. Notice how just taking one singular building, I decided to take my time based on the situation, and I tried not to just overexert myself and overextend my abilities.
Hey, we got freaking weapons and shit in here. Follow me. I'm on it. Nothing in the hallway.
See there, if I would have left my security element there, they probably would have picked up those guys and I wouldn't even have to worry about it.
Watch southeast. Here I'm on it.
All right, now something I want to point out here on this top left building of the second story, right where that open window is. If this game was based on real life, that top left building would have been a perfect position to have a machine gun nest because it has perfect view of this entire alleyway. And if me or my team would have exposed ourselves into the street like we did, a machine gun position would have just mowed us straight down. I wish they would have set them up in more tactically advantageous positions, but it's a video game, so gotta just deal with what they give you.
All clear in this room.
Now we're here, going through, clearing. I would say the AI is working out pretty well right here. They're trying to cover their sectors as much as possible, which is extremely good. If you know anything about Mount or just being a part of a team in general, is you're always looking for a job. That's the name of the game, is always looking for a job. If you're just standing there doing nothing, you're probably not doing the right thing. Now we're here. We've again ran into the position where, hey, there's more enemy. I'm trying to do some recon by fire, trying to observe with my light. Okay, cool, there's really no more enemy in my immediate vicinity that I can engage. What I want to do is keep doing some recon by fire to see where that enemy is. Hopefully the recon by fire that I'm doing can kind of suppress the enemy a little bit and give me a better position to gain a foothold into this building. So now here I've established the enemy is on the left side of this building, so instead of running up to the left side of this building, I'm going to try and come around here to the right and flank them. Thank goodness my buddy was there to eliminate him.
All set. I can't see. Contact.
Right there, I would say all this is points of success, minus my buddy running out of the building for whatever reason to get out in the alley. He should have stayed in the building with us. It just didn't play out like that, so be it. So to get him to come back in, I moved out of the hallway and moved right towards that window to see if there was any more targets to assess.
Room's clear. Face east. Here I go.
At this point in time, I'm going a little bit faster than I should, which isn't really a net positive. It's definitely a net negative. I really should be going a lot slower, trying to understand where the enemy is, not trying to overexpose myself. Right there, if that was real life, I overexposed myself for too long, and I probably would have gotten shot in the face because I just didn't see the enemy, and that's just how life works out sometimes. Here, I've established now that there's enemy to my left. I want to get eyes on the objective as best as possible, and hopefully take this building. I'm here, I'm just trying to use some grenades to hopefully soften up my target. If not kill them, hopefully scare them inside and get them away from me so that I can just either push them out of this area or push them into a position where I can get to a better spot. Like right here, I'm going to call up my security team. I'm going to continue to suppress this doorway until my security element gets up so that they can isolate this position and I don't have to worry about anyone coming up on the roof anymore. My security element's holding their spot. They're doing their job. I'm going to come around my security element and around the building so that I can set up into an L-shaped position so we can get onto this building and eliminate any threats that are on it. Fortunately for me, got shot in the face of the process. Just doing a little TCCC right here before we get back in the game. I'm here. I know that there's enemy in this building, so what I'm doing is just doing some recon by fire through all the windows, because I want to know, hey, if there is any enemy in there, they're probably going to shoot back at me, because if you're trying to shoot them, they're going to want to shoot you. I've established, hey, there's a doorway to the right. I want to take this objective. So the way I'm going to do it is come around from the right over here. But before I can move, those windows are going to be perfect positions for them to shoot at me if I just went straight across the yard and tried to get up into this building. So what I'm trying to do is mask their observation with smoke. I'm trying to readjust my security so they're actually in a better position to look deeper into the building and not just isolate for anything coming out of the building. They can actually look in there and fire upon deep targets. Here, again, got visual on the door, looked real quick, making sure nobody was there. I got caught up on the wall because of course I did. Check this right side to make sure nobody could come around and flank. And now I'm pushing in. I would say this is all points of success because I'm really just trying to take it slow. I'm waiting here at the doorway, making myself a small target, waiting for any enemies to come to me because obviously they can see that flashlight. So as you can see there, I was about to attempt a right side clear, but since I looked in and I saw the stairs, I was like, okay, cool. It's going to just lead me upstairs. There's no reason for me to be there because I have my security element isolating the upstairs area. So what I need to do is go to the left and do a left side clear instead. Clear everything out on the bottom floor before moving up and onto the top floor. Cool, I've established, nobody's up here. I know that my security element's out here. In reality, I would leave my flashlight on so that my security element would know that it's me coming out and not an enemy, because, it's combat. They want to live just as much as you want to live. If you're not communicating to them where you're at and the things that you're doing, they're going to assume that you're most likely the enemy. As we've seen in previous examples, I've shot at my own guys because I thought they were enemy. That would happen in real life. Don't believe me? Talk to combat vets who have been in the same predicament. That's a real thing that happens. That's real life. It just is what it is.
You're with me.
So now that I've established, hey, this building is clear, this is somewhat of a key piece of terrain. It's not a fantastic piece of key terrain, but it's better than nothing. I tried to set up my guys in a security position onto the left side of the building because I was assuming that, hey, if anyone was going to come around this area, they would come through that alleyway because I do have the track on the outside of the building towards the front of it. So hopefully the track would eliminate anyone trying to flank massively around if they were trying to flank around that little store structure. So here I have my security on the left, holding down that alleyway / in front of the building, and I'm over here just checking the right side, making sure nobody runs up on us so that we can get some good visuals on everything before we start to move and engage enemy further.
Contact east.
So now here, point of failure for me, I didn't do any recon by fire. I established that there was enemies on the objective. This is like the second or third time that I've established, hey, there's enemies on the objective. What I should have done was some recon by fire, because I probably would have gotten some return fire in the process, and I wouldn't have just walked out in the open and gotten shot in the face. And now here's where I die, because my teammate, he's literally in the middle of a firefight, he can't help me, and my security element is on security, they can't help me. So I kind of deserved that. That was my own stupid fault. It is what it is. Again, this is why we train to the best of our abilities, so we can figure out points of success and points of failure to hopefully learn next time. So now I'm here, I'm trying to set up a security on top of the roof to aim down this alleyway, because I'm like, hey, you know, we were just taking contact from there. If I'm going to receive any more contact, it's most likely going to be from that way. The game won't allow me to set up a security position there. I get it, probably too close to a wall, so be it.
We got additional reinforcements coming to you.
Alright, I'm here, I've established there's bad guys that way, so what do I want to do? Set up a security position. This alleyway obviously isn't a great position to be in, because you can only observe so much before you have to push yourself up further, but hopefully they can watch my right side as I maneuver around and try and gain a foothold in these little broken down walls. As you can see, I learned from my mistake. I did a little recon by fire, shot that dude in the face, and now I'm gonna reset up my security in a position that's better for them to provide me some mutual support.
Cover the street.
Again, I'm here, just trying to do some more recon by fire, see if there's any enemies that come out. As you can see, I was right about to rush into that little courtyard area, but I decided to change my mind, because I'm like, hey, I really don't know what's off on this left side. Maybe I should just peek around the corner and check real quick. All right, cool, I've established there's a window there. Maybe I should get out of the way, and I'm just trying to clear out the courtyard so that I can get into this building. Again, I'm going to sit here, and since I've established there's an aperture right there, I'm going to try and obscure the aperture so that I can come across, because I already know I don't want to be coming through this main doorway and this window. And since my security element is already on the right side watching that avenue of approach, what I want to do is get around the back side of the building so that if there is enemy in here, they'll either run into me or they'll run outside to try and flank me, and hopefully my security element will get them. Again, right here, perfect example. When you don't communicate to your guys, hey, friendly entering, don't have your flashlight on, don't have any way to indicate you from an enemy, you get shot in the process. Because at the end of the day, he was just a dark figure. You got to shoot first and ask questions later sometimes. Because at the end of the day, if that was an enemy, I would have been the one going down and not him. So just know that when you do enter rooms, you always want to communicate. Communication, especially in a mountain environment, is crucial to success. So we continue with our clear. I'm going to send my security element up there and try and give them some mutual support as much as I can. They're engaging. I'm going to try and get up here as best as possible and provide them some more guns in the fight. Unfortunately, as you can see, I just fell off the stairs right there like a goof. point of failure, I didn't even check the right side of the balcony, which, as we've established before in the last video, I got shot from a dude coming outside of that balcony. So I really should have learned from my mistake and looked outside of that balcony, even for like a split second, to know that if there is an enemy or if there is not an enemy. I just didn't. Luckily, it worked out in my favor because nobody was there. But again, we want to learn from that.
Eyeball, down these stairs. Cover the downstairs.
I'm trying to do some more recon by fire across the street into that building because we've already established, hey, we're taking contact from there. So let's set up in a position where we can accurately engage if possible.
I'll clear this room.
Yep, right there. Should have checked that balcony way before I even came into this room. So now here we're on to the next mission. Locate an insurgent armory. Easy enough. As you can see here in a minute, I'm going to just try and evaluate the area, gain my bearings of the situation. If you ever heard of a little acronym, it's called SEALS. It's Stop, Look, Listen, Smell. It's essentially like, hey, stop what I'm doing, look around. Where am I most likely going to take contact from? Okay, I'm probably not going to take contact from any immediate area. You want to hear whatever's coming at you. I'm hearing mortars. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I've established there's mortars on this map. There's mortars in this mission. I have to now deal with that next level of threat. And then smell. In a video game, you can't smell anything. That's just reality. But in real life, all right, smells like gunfire. Smells like trash. Smells like sewage. Smells like dead bodies, dead animals, whatever. That gives you a better understanding. It paints a picture in your mind of what the area is going to be involved with. If it smells like trash, you're most likely going to have trash all over the streets. That might be an indication that, hey, they might have buried a lot of IEDs around this area. Now, is that a guarantee that if it smells like trash, there's going to be IEDs? No, there is no guarantee in anything. You just have to gather the information as best you can and apply some common sense to the situation, but never get rid of that whole idea of stop, look, listen, smell. Always apply that concept as best you can. In training, in real life, doesn't matter. I've established, hey, there's mortars over here on this little red roofed building, so I'm trying to take whatever indirect fire I have. Obviously, all I have is a 203, that's my best indirect fire tool, and I'm just trying to lob some HE up onto that building. If not kill them, hopefully at least suppress them up and off the top of the building. If I was a better shot, maybe I could have wiped out the mortar team, but, you know, is what it is. Just didn't get there except for that last round I had. Here, just trying to do some more recon by fire. Maybe they would shoot back at me. Doesn't look like they want to play. Looks like they're probably just going to hide, because I know that fired 3 botched rounds. That last round was the only round that sunk on top of the roof. So I can probably guess from common sense that they're just hiding out, waiting for me to move off of this rooftop. So I'm trying to set up my security in a better position to hopefully watch that rooftop so that if they do get up there, they can engage them. I'm really trying to set them up behind these brick walls, but they don't want to get behind the brick walls for whatever reason. They want to kind of just continue to overexpose themselves, so I have to readjust and move them behind this little blown out wall here. Luckily, one guy does it, the other guy doesn't. It just is what it is. This is the best way I'm going to set up my security for them to be in a somewhat covered and concealed position. Again, it's just a gameism. Just have to work around it. So now that I have established my security element on top in an Overwatch position, I'm going to obviously just proceed on mission and try and engage as best I can, gain footholds, and move on from there.
Where's that fire coming from? Military, eighth male, in the alley! I'm reloading. All set.
Here, just scanning the environment, trying to see, like, I was looking at that truck and I was like, oh, is that an IED that I have to worry about? It wasn't, so I'm like, okay, cool, probably safe there, at least for that truck, don't have to worry about it. If that was an IED, obviously that's a new level that I have to play into.
Contact southwest!
Here we get into a little firefight. I look in front of this building and I'm like, all right, well, we've taken contact from this building. A couple dudes have left this building. I'm going to try and just throw a grenade to hopefully suppress them, keep them locked up inside, not wanting to come out and play.
Shot. Target southwest!
This guy right here, I did have to come around and kill him because I was like, hey, I don't want him to run around and flank my security position. I have to mutually support my security position as much as they can mutually support me. So it just makes sense that I can't just let that guy run around. I have to go and chase him and eliminate him because he is the most immediate threat.
Smoking!
So now here, I definitely botched these smoke grenades really hard. It's just going to be this last third one that actually makes it out onto the street because I just suck like that. But what I was attempting to do here was obscure the roadway for two reasons. One, the enemy that's in front of me in this building, I wanted them to think that I was going to come around from the right side, and in reality I wanted to move to the left side. Also, another reason I wanted to do that was to obscure the road so that if they did have a machine gun position down the long axis of that road, the machine gun position at least couldn't see me. Luckily, there wasn't a machine gun position, I was okay. Here, I was not okay because I just didn't see that enemy that was hanging out in that room right there.
Boy, can't believe I'm still alive!
However, eliminate the threat, keep on moving.
I hear movement. Hey kids, on me!
Stay with me, brother. I'll patch
I called up my security element because I was like, hey, one, I'm reaching a point where they're probably going to form up on me anyways, and two, they're no longer in a mutually supportive position. So it just makes sense to call them up on my own accord rather than, let's just say I got 10 meters further and I'm in the middle of a firefight and now they try and run up on me. Or like, hey, if I was getting flanked in the moment and they're trying to run up on me, maybe they would have gotten shot in the street. Who knows? I just called them up because I was like, it's better that they're probably in here in this room with me rather than running up on their own accord once I cross the invisible line where they're like, oh no, daddy's gone too far. I would say a point of success. I didn't know my friendly was going to be coming around that corner, but I used my eyeballs and I was like, okay, cool. That is a friendly. Do not shoot him. Luckily, my brain was processing more than 1 gigabyte per second to freaking understand what was going on.
Watch the street! Roger that! Always clear!
I did set up my guys in a security position right there, and then we took an RPG round, and I was like, all right, well, if that would have came right in through the doorway instead of off to the left side of the doorway, we all would have been in a world of hurt. Probably all would have died. We just got lucky there. So I'm like, okay, this is a terrible position to set up my security element in. We need to move back and readjust. There's nothing wrong with moving back and readjusting. Just make sure that the adjustments make sense. If you put your guys in a position where they're overexposing themselves, or, you know, if you're taking really heavy contact, it makes no sense to leave them there. Always readjust. Don't be afraid to readjust. Just let the adjustments make sense. If the adjustment doesn't make sense, don't move them. That's pretty much all I could tell you as far as real world.
That's not a good sign. Hey, they're talking! Good to go. Eyeballs, balcony.
From this position, I would say, as I'm setting up my security, I pretty much left them out in the open. This is a point of failure on my part. Yes, they're in a mutually supportive position, but at the same time, they're overexposing themselves. So it's a love-hate relationship with how they're set up. Because right now, they're helping me from not getting shot in the back, but also at the same time, I kind of left them out to dry because now they're just overexposed. I did try and move up. I used my eyeballs, and I was like, all right, this is not a good position to be in tactfully. So I'm like, all right, let me fall back. Let me call my security element back in. Let us readjust and try and find a better way to take these buildings. Because again, I didn't know what was in that tan 2-story structure that was all the way off to the right. There could be, 8 to 10 bad guys in there that are all just waiting for me. And if I try and run up out in the middle of the open, it's not going to be an advantageous position for anybody. So now here, I just got really unlucky, because as you saw right there, that RPG gunner was just waiting for me, man. I couldn't see him because he was just hiding in that tree. Come to the conclusion, I'm like, okay, need to set up security here on the right side to hopefully engage as best they can. I'm going to come around on the left side. Definitely didn't want to go through the same exact way that I went through beforehand, and I'm just trying to make those adjustments. Make failures, learn, readjust. As you can see right here, this time I noticed the little RPG gunner hanging around that tree. Here, since, obviously you could see where I set up my security position in that little alleyway, they can't see anything, and it's a crap position to be in, so I wanted to move them. Therefore, I moved them. Yes, they're in the open, they're in the street, but it's a lot better than sitting in a narrow alleyway. And now here, for whatever reason, I did have them set up in that security position, but they just weren't having it, I guess. Now they're just deciding to stand here in the street and not observe the objective. Like I said, man, this is just stuff that you have to work through. Maybe in real life you get guys that are on your team that are really this stupid. Pray to the Lord, I hope you don't, but you know, sometimes you just can't pick them. Sometimes you just have to deal with them. So now I'm here, I reset them up in the security position. They're probably not taking it, they maybe are taking it, I have no idea at this point. I'm going to continue just doing the best I can to proceed onto the objective. So now here you can see my security element. Their tracers are coming in on the right side. They're trying to mutually support me as best as they can. I have no idea where the enemy's coming from. As you can see right there, I just got lucky with that enflating fire. That little machine gunner's wet dream just enflate right to the face. For anybody who doesn't know, enflate is just when you can fire one burst, your enemies lined up perfectly behind each other, and you can eliminate multiple targets at once. That's why they always tell you, hey, if you set up a machine gun position, you want to set it up on a long axis of the road, because 9 times out of 10, the way the enemy is going to patrol the road is they're going to be in a single file line. So your best case scenario is you fire one burst and you get 5 guys all in a row. As you can see, we all just died in the street. That's just how life played, and it is what it is. Now, on to the next one. Again, same exact mission. We're looking for that insurgent armory. I'm trying to get my bearings of the situation. I'm like, okay, this is a lot of buildings. Let me try and think a little bit harder about how I want to attack this problem. Just because I knew that there was that whole long axis of the road right there, I wanted to set up my own base of fire at the beginning of it. Yes, I set them out in the middle of the road. Terrible position for them to be in. That's my fault. What I should have done was had them in some sort of covered position before I set them up. I just really wasn't thinking. I was just more so like, hey, get some guns up facing that way so I don't get shot in the back while I'm looking at a map. Luckily, I moved just in time, didn't take that RPG round to the side of the head. Unfortunately, the track got it. Since we took that RPG round, I'm like, okay, my security element needs to move up now because, again, like we've established, I put them out in the middle of the road, and they're just doing a freaking conga line over here for whatever reason. They're just acting dumb. I see right there, okay, that's where that RPG gunner is hanging out. I'm trying to engage him. I think what was happening right here was that my rounds were probably just hitting the truck right in front of us. And this RPG gunner just got the better of me. In reality, I would have been toasted right there. I did try and move initially to get to some cover, but my buddy was already right there to just tap me up. Since I'm already in a position where can't get any worse, I'm trying to just reassess the threat. Happen to eliminate that RPG gunner, thank goodness. And we're moving on from here to hopefully not catch any more RPGs or mortar rounds to the face. So now I will say this, in real life, if you are ever actually dealing with mortars, you will not see plumes of smoke, you will not see smoke trails heading out of the rounds. I don't know why the game developers decided to do that. I guess probably just make it easier for players to assess where the mortar team actually is, because it is kind of like a little side quest objective. In reality, that's just not the case. You won't see these smoke clouds coming up and out of the mortar tubes. It'll really be based on, hey, where is the mortar sound coming from? And that's where you're going to have to eliminate them. There's that, and there's also other ways to assess where the mortars are, but that's pretty much your most on-the-spot way of doing it, is using solely your ears. Same exact reason why we do, SILS, stop, look, listen, smell. Alright, so now I've set up my security element on this left side of the roadway, along with the track that's over there hanging out. I'm trying to isolate where the mortars were coming from, so in that case, anyone who comes out of that front side probably going to get zapped in the face. Therefore, I'm moving on to the right side to hopefully get around, maybe get in through the back way, or if not get in through the back way, at least shoot anyone who wants to run outside of the back way and flank us. So I'm here since I've established that that little RPG gunner that I just took out a minute ago was coming from this right side. I'm assuming that there's going to be more enemy coming from this right side. As you can see right there, I just so happen to be correct. And again, when you do slow is smooth and smooth is fast, a lot of times if the enemy is very eager to get shot in the face, just help them out. Just sit where you're sitting, wait for them to come to you, and then you reap the benefits from there essentially. So after I waited there for a second, I was like, okay, I feel comfortable enough to move. I'm still trying to just do slow as smooth, smooth as fast. Engage targets, engage threats as best as possible. Observe, trying to just soak up as much information as I can. Here, I try and do some recon by fire because I'm like, hey, if I want to get around and come around the backside of this building, I need to make sure that there's nobody in this direct building that's going to shoot me in the back as soon as I run through the doorway. Luckily, the recon by fire panned out for me because now there's this guy lobbing grenades at me. Obviously, the whole lobbing grenades thing isn't great, but now I know that there's somebody over there, so I can't just round this corner. And again, I'm trying to do the same exact concept, just slow as smooth, smooth as fast. If this guy wants to run straight first to my muzzle, let him. He did not, however. He just wanted to keep throwing grenades at me, so I had to meet him where he was. As soon as he threw that last grenade, I was like, all right, cool, around the corner. I moved a little bit too fast, definitely a point of failure on my part. Again, that's a little bit kind of like the game where you can only move as fast as the game allows you to move. Yeah, you can like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. I just don't feel very comfortable doing that. I'd rather just stay on the move because you could overexpose your forehead and not be able to see with your eyes. Just played out in my favor. I just got lucky like that.
Contact to the west!
At this point in time, I'm kind of established that I'm done playing around with these guys. I want to just get into this building, so I'm just not overexposing myself anymore. I can see, cool, there's enemy right in front of me. I'm trying to engage them. Again, point of failure. I just stood in the doorway trying to engage them. I didn't make myself a small target whatsoever. I didn't really apply any basic fundamentals. I just rushed in there, tried to shoot at targets, and it just didn't play out for me. As you can see, the second time we're coming around, I learned from my mistake, trying to make myself a smaller target as I assess threats that are actually in the door. You'll see here in a minute that, yeah, obviously my ready is just standing there in the doorway. He's really not doing any service to himself or anybody else. He gets clocked in the face in the process. And now if you know anything about P March P, obviously the first P is patient provider security. You have to go ahead and eliminate that threat before you can continue and start treating your buddy with some first aid. Luckily, I didn't have to treat my buddy with some first aid. My security element came up and was able to do that for him. I can hear, yep. My track is engaging some enemies. I can see some enemies outside. Just trying to move. Luckily I did move outside, because if not, that RPG gunner probably would have iced my track in a matter of a second. So since I know that there's RPG gunners coming from this way, what do? Set up a security position right there to try and isolate that little alleyway slash little building section. Just trying to give myself the tactical advantage here as much as possible. Now, since they're on that left side, I want to continue to get my bearings. So I'm going to try and check out what's on this right side over here, what's on the right side of the town, to see if clearing on the left side or clearing on the right side would be more advantageous. Because ultimately, that's what you want to do. You want to get to the objective in as few steps as possible so that you can do what you need to do, wrap up, and get out of there. If you're sitting in a position for longer than you need to, like we talked about, you're just overexposing yourself. You are setting yourself up for failure by just putting yourself in more danger than need be. So at this point, I've established that, hey, there's probably no more enemy from that right side. What I'm doing is I don't want to cross to the right side of the town, just straight out in the open. I'm throwing smoke to obscure my movement. I'm waiting here to let the smoke billow up.
Reloading.
My smoke wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, so I'm kind of pieing off this little section. Thankfully I do, because there's a guy right there. Yep, RPG gunner, that if he wasn't deciding to suck face with the side of the wall, he probably would have turned and zapped me. I've come to the conclusion that being right here is probably not where I want to clear, especially if my track is all the way on the left side. If you've seen in previous gameplay, or if you've ever played this game yourself, you know that when you leave your track alone, the enemy will definitely swarm on it very quickly, and that leaves you into a poor position. Unfortunately, yeah, see, like right there, if I didn't come back around to my track, those two RPG gunners would have just iced the track in a matter of a second. Luckily, I did come back around. Unfortunately, this isn't real life, because I could have just left my security element there, but, you know, they're like, Daddy walked away from me. I need to go to him. So they decided to follow me like the little ducklings they are, and it just left us exposed.
Contact on the balcony. Hey, need to reload. I'm reloading.
Here, I would say, is definitely where I kind of lost my footing. I was taking contact from the left, and I was also taking contact from the right previously. What I was trying to do was move my track forward to get behind mall/storefront area so that my track would be in more cover. Unfortunately, as you can see right there, it didn't really pan out for me, and the track got iced just because, you know, you can't be everywhere all at the same time. There is always going to be weaknesses in your security posture. You just kind of have to trade tit for tat at the end of the day. I just unfortunately traded wrong.
Understood, Marine. Hang tight. We got reinforcements inbound.
I'm back online.
At this point in time, since a lot of the RPG gunners have been coming around from this right side, and since my track just got kind of iced and I don't have to worry about it too much, I'm trying to push across the map because I have a feeling like the objective is on the right side of the map now. And since my track got iced, there's really no point in me standing there and trying to cover that left side anymore.
365.
Gather up.
Sure thing.
See, as right there, I would be correct because there's an RPG gunner. Now at this point in time, Pretty much everything from here on out is absolute failure because I don't have any smoke grenades, so I can't obscure myself. I have come to the conclusion that to this right side building is the weapons cache, and I will probably need to get through there. I quickly look to the right to try and see what my avenue of approach would look like. It's two big old walls with probably narrow avenues of approach that I really don't want to be coming through. What I am going to try and do is run around to the backside and assess targets from there. It just really doesn't play out in my favor. Here, I'm just checking around the backside, trying to not get outflanked, because the enemy knows where I'm at. They were just shooting at me a second ago. I'm trying to return fire, trying to do some recon by fire as best I can. I have no idea where the enemy is, and this is where I absolutely decide to shoot myself straight in the balls because I'm now out in the open with my entire team. I get shot in the face for obvious reason, and I will just end up staying here because around this left side, I'm like, well, that's a lot of windows and doorways that I don't want to have to deal with. So the enemy that you know is better than the enemy that you don't. Standing out in the open is a lot better than trying to push yourself into ambush alley, which ultimately, it was a lose-lose situation at this point. I had screwed myself, but since we kinda gained a little bit of the upper hand as far as eliminating targets, I really didn't feel too stressed out about hanging out in this open position, but I definitely should have been more stressed out, and I should have pushed my teammates to a better position. Also, on top of that, we should have just never been in this position to begin with. Going straight out in the open with no concealment whatsoever was a stupid idea. So hopefully you can see this, call me an idiot like I'm calling myself an idiot, and we can all learn. Never push out in the open with no cover, no concealment, and no plan. Because I didn't really have a plan at this point either. I guess I was rushing. I wish I knew what was going on in this moment, but it was all just stupidity from here on out.
Stay with me, brother. I'm patching you up.
Here, I'm just kind of waiting for more targets. I did see from that little steel doorway that there was some smoke getting kicked up, so I decided to fire a 203 round at the door to hopefully eliminate anybody that was there. Unfortunately, yeah, I'm just watching this over is really hard because it's a lot of failure and it was a lot of rushing to my death. Because if you could even see my kit, I had one 203 round and like two half-filled magazines and no smoke, no spare frags, nothing. In reality, what I should have done here was waited for my other track to come up, pull ammo and supplies and everything that I needed out of that track, and then obscured the avenue of approach, pushed through the front doorway and not tried to come around the backside here because I had already established, hey, this is pretty much ambush alley, that's why I didn't come down here the first time, and have gone through the front door, tried to fight my way into a position from there, and then actually been able to blow up this weapons cache with less casualties in the process. Because yes, all my teammates are alive. In reality, we probably all would have died. That's just the truth of the situation. I have no problem saying it because that's the whole point of this series anyways, is to learn from mistakes. And you can't learn from a mistake unless you admit fault. Ideally, hopefully you can learn something from all this. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope that you're liking this little series. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Doesn't really matter. I'm probably going to push out a few more videos just because I enjoy making this. And at the end of the day, pretty much nobody watches any of my videos except for the Rhodesia videos anyways, so it's not like it matters. I rather get some enjoyment out of what I'm doing rather than just making the same stuff that I really don't care about making anymore. With all that being said, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!